Good morning, good vach, Shavua Tov, everyone, and welcome. This morning's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Feivel, Tzivia Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shom ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beres, Tzipora Fegel Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Elieli, Ben Bas Feivel from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Sarah Malka Bas Ben Yomim, Yirmiyahu Yechiel ben Achava Moshe Eliezer. We wish each and every one of their respective families long life. I apologize, I have not been sent the Yortzeit list for this coming week. So what we will do is the Yortzeits that should have been dedicated for today will be done, please God, tomorrow. Okay, so Monday will be Monday and Sunday combined. Okay, good morning. In no particular order, to Peter, Michelle, Eitan, Caroline, whoops, hold on. Caroline, where were we? And Rachel, Mervyn, and Mervyn. And yes, thank you very much for the good wishes. So we were discussing, and of course, I just want to state the obvious, the elephant in the room. Yes, shuls are going to be closing down this coming week. Some shuls have already closed. We'll be following the United Synagogue guidelines, details from the chairman to come out. But of course, it is sad that we have to close, but it is the right thing that we close. And therefore, I think that's always the way that we have to look at it. We are here in this world, friends, to do the right thing. Okay? You never lose by doing the right thing. And therefore, if it's serving God rather than it being self-serving, then, I don't feel, I feel bad that some people are going to be missing out saying Kaddish. But for myself personally, although I love to daven with a minyan and to daven with a community, I'm here when I pray, I'm praying for God, not for me. And therefore, I recognize at this time that what he wants from me is to pray at home. And if that's what he wants, that's what we're going to do. So we'll have more online content, of course, and look forward to interacting with each and every one of you. Exciting programs coming your way. Okay, let's get going. So, good morning, David and Estelle. I don't know if I mentioned you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are up to the gate of love, or should I say love, okay? I knew Mervyn would smile. So we mentioned last time that everything, and we'll say this principle again and again and again until you are bored out of your minds, and that is midot, a midah, a character trait, literally means a measure. Everything is everything in the right measure, okay? So therefore, we outlined last time the love towards a pet, towards a child, the love towards money, the love towards women or a spouse, the love of close relatives, the love of long life, the love of honor, the love of pleasure and indulgence. And we said that all these things have a time and a place, in the words of King Solomon, and therefore when it is used excessively or inappropriately, then it has damaging, disastrous consequences. So let's now have a look at some of because he does mention about how it can be used in the right way, if I can find it, okay? So let's just take a couple of examples, okay? So the love of one's children, right? How much can you love your child, right? Is there ever an end to the love of our children? Okay. Sometimes we want to throttle them, but generally speaking, we love them. We love them to pieces. The love of one's children should be such as to cause him to give thought to leading his children in the ways of justice, to teach them divine service, and to command the continuance of divine service after him. In other words, okay, that may sound rather esoteric, rather lofty. Basically, we have to have tough love. In other words, by loving our children, sometimes that means saying no. That means sometimes telling them what is the right thing to do. Oh, I don't want to tell them anything because they'll be upset with me. Yes, and that is part of your job as a parent. You're not there to be their bestie, to be their best friend. Okay, you are there to show them true love, and love is about thinking what's best for the other person. And sometimes that makes you into, number one enemy, and sometimes it means that they see you as, as a friend in a sense. But we're not there to be friends. We're not there to be their equals. We're the parents, and therefore they need instruction, they need guidance, they need us to model the correct behavior, right? There comes a cutoff point. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 15, 16, where all of a sudden in our generation, everyone's afraid to say anything, petrified to say anything in front of them. Can we not have an open relationship? Do we not have that trust and that bond between us and another generation to be able actually to speak our minds, to be able to share with them our concerns? If it was a physical condition, then we would say to them, listen, you can't leave that. You need to go and see a specialist. You need to see a doctor. You can't leave that. Sort it out, right? And we'd nag them and nag them and nag them. We wouldn't worry about what they're thinking of us, would we? But why is it when it comes to spiritual matters, things that concern their well-being, in terms of their emotions, in terms of their psychological well-being, in terms of their growth as a person, we don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to say anything. Don't want to lose out. Don't want to risk my relationship. If you've got a real relationship, then in the right way, there are times when things can be said. And I chose my words very carefully. There are times in the right way when things can and should be said. Doesn't mean telling them all the time, but that's a conversation for another day, how and when. But that's the point. What about love of money? Okay, we mentioned about how damaging this can be. So, but yet our love of money, right? Again, it's not something that's off limits. It needs moderating. It needs to be channeled in the right way. So the love of money should take the form of loving one's own money so as not to desire that of others, and not to be driven to steal or rob, or to be constrained to accept charity. His money should be used to sustain others, to clothe and feed the poor, and strengthen God-fearing Torah scholars. His wealth can also enable him to free himself from the affairs of this world and set aside time of Torah study. So money is a gift, right? It's not something that we see as abhorrent. It's not something that we believe in abstinence, right? But material wealth is something that we embrace, but it has to be used in the right way. Jacob, we know, was struggling throughout the night with this mystical entity. And what did he do? How did he end up in that situation of being alone? He went back for pachim katanim, for small little jugs. He was a wealthy man. He needed the small little jugs. If God has given you something, right, he gave it to you for a reason. So therefore, everything that we have, the wealth that we have, the possessions that we have, right, we should cherish, but not as an end in themselves, as a means to an end. How can we use it in the right way? That's point number 2. Okay, so the idea of loving a spouse, right, is not self-love, right, but it is love for what the other person, the appreciation for the other person. I don't know if you've ever heard of the fish lover. Have we ever discussed the fish lover? Probably not. So now's a good time to discuss the fish lover. There was once a man who went with his friend, and he went into a restaurant, okay, and he sat down and they were having a chat, and he was waxing lyrical about how much he loved fish. I love fish, he said. And he's speaking about all the different types of fish that he loves. All of a sudden they bring the menu, and lo and behold, he says he wanted a certain type of fish. Chooses the fish, and off the waiter goes. And his friend who's sitting there is shocked, amazed. He says, I thought you loved fish. He said, of course I love fish. He says, come with me. They take him into the kitchen, and they see them pulling out of the tank one of the fish, whacking it over the head, throwing it into the frying pan, chucking some spices, and 2 minutes later, a few minutes later, then this dish is brought in front of him. And as he starts to eat, his friend says, you don't love fish, you love yourself. Because a true fish lover is a conservationist, who's somebody who wants the best for the fish, right? Somebody appreciates the fish. So it is, right, with the idea of loving another person. What do we love in another person? Is it what we get from them, what they give to us, what we get out of it? Or is it truly we love them and appreciate them, right? And want to do the best for them. So the question we always ask when we learn with chatanim and kalas, brides and grooms, is as follows, and we'll see who gets it right. We'll go to the comments now, okay? Are you ready? Fingers on the buzzers, everyone. Very exciting at this moment in time. Do you love And so hold on, let's go from the beginning. So the word for love in Hebrew, does anybody know? Can anybody type the word for love? What's the word for love? Rachel, the word for love. Caroline, anyone help me out? What's the word for love? The word for love is ahava. And the root of the word ahava is the word hav. And hav, says Rav Dessler, means to give. So the question he poses is, do we give and therefore we love? Or do we love and therefore we give? Thank you, Mervyn. Right? Which way round is it? We know that the root of the word for love is give. And we know that in Hebrew, words are not just associations, right? But they define the essence of the thing. So therefore, the word for love, if the root of the word is give, it means that is the root of love. So do we love, and as a result of love, therefore I give? Or is it that I give, and therefore I come to love? How do you start off in a relationship? Who should I pick on this morning? Okay. What do you want to, Michelle, you want to share with us some insight? Sorry, I had to pick on someone. What do you think? Do you love where you give, or do you give where you love? Answers in the chat box below. Can someone give me a suggestion? Okay, I'll give you a clue. You can't be far wrong. Anyone? Okay, I will give you the answer. Drum roll, please. Da-da-da-da. Okay, so the answer is that it's both. Okay, it's cyclical. You love where you give, and you give where you love. How do we start off in a relationship? Any relationship, it doesn't have to be a spouse, any type of relationship. A child, a parent, right? A child with a parent. It could be a friend, right? You start off, you get to know them, right? And then you start to give, and then you love them, you like, right? And then you give and you love them more, and then you love them, and then you give, and it keeps on going. We could draw a diagram, we don't have time now, right? Correct, Mervyn. So that love, right? You give, and therefore there is no quid pro quo, there is no tit for tat, quid pro quo when it comes to giving in relationships. In other words, we don't measure and try and correlate my giving with their giving. I'm going to stop giving because they've offended me, because they've upset me, because I'm wounded, right? That's not the way it works in relationships. We have to do, if we love another person, we keep giving. That is what love is. And eventually, right, even if they've been hurt by something we've said or done, they will come round and they'll want to give more. So giving is the key, right? And when we stop giving, then that causes a strain and a breakdown in the relationship. Okay, so that was the point I wanted to make. There was something else I wanted to tell you about love and giving, and in slips. Yes, so with a parent and child, it was about a parent and child. What was it about a parent and child? With a parent and child. Okay, it will come back to me. We're going to go on to the Psalm of the day. It will come back to me, okay? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Now I know what it is, okay? I'm going to tell you a story, okay? But I want you to fasten your seatbelts, because you may not agree with the content and you may be screaming and shouting at the screen. So here we go, okay? Story goes about a mother had two children, two boys, before the war, and at the time of the Holocaust, sadly, she was separated from one of her children. One of her sons was with her. I don't know all the details, but I just know the story. And the other one was separated. After the war, they were reunited. Can you imagine? She hadn't seen her son for 5 years, right? It was very, very special, very emotional, right? And she wrote about her experiences years later, and she said that how, to be able to, she thought she'd lost her son, and to be reunited with him meant everything, meant the world to her. However, she said, the loss of those 5 years, the separation of those 5 years, meant it was 5 years that she was giving to the son that she was with, and not giving to the son that she was separated from, and she felt that the relationship had changed. The love was not the same. She loved him, but the love was not exactly the same. It wasn't the same because for 5 years she'd invested in the child that she was with. Now, I'm just trying to demonstrate and illustrate the principle. I'm not saying that you should start working out in individual relationships. My point is a general point, and that is what comes out from the books, from the wisdom of our sages, is that where you give, you love, and where you love, you give. Don't start measuring in relationships, right? He did this, she did that, right? It is a recipe for disaster, and ultimately in relationships, that is what causes a breakdown, a strain, and sometimes separation. Okay, so let's move on. Memorial prayer, and then Refuah Shlema prayer for all those that have COVID and beyond. Adonai Lamin Zacho Es Nishma Isleah Bas Bible Siv Bas Mordechai Avram Ben David Slavin Shalom Ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer Shalom Ben Abu Shmuel Beres Perfect Bas Ruben Baruch Shalom Ben Lili Ben Bas Bible from Moshe Shana Bas Yaakov Shmuel Yeremiah Yechia Ben Achav Ben Moshe Eliezer Sarah Malka Bas Ben Yomin Shal Chul Yolamam Bagan Eiden Teimanu Chasam Lachen Veracham Ben Yasrim Bezekan Avilan Mem V'Yisrael Bezachay Shvasam Adonai Nachlasam V'Yanuch B'Shlom Ashkavam Ben Amar Amen. Refuah Shlema prayer. Sadly, of course, we know with the numbers have literally gone through the ceiling. Thank God, we are family are coming out of isolation this Tuesday morning, please God. And as we come out, we have to go back into lockdown. But we're thinking, and our thoughts are with all those that have COVID and all those that are unwell in our community and beyond. Misha Berchav Robinson Yaakov, Moshe Aaron David Shlomo, Vivak Rabba Sachailim. Bishlach lem fushlim and shmaim lechovim b'sol shachol Yisrael refuas and nefesh of hashbakas makariv and amar amen. Everyone have a great day. Keep safe, keep well. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Looking forward to seeing you all then. We'll keep learning, keep growing, keep doing, becoming bigger and better people. We are almost halfway through the book. It's unbelievable. Just 15 minutes a day, what we can accomplish and achieve together. And I'm enjoying so much being with you and your comments and contribution. So let's keep going. Take care. Have a great day.